Hello everyone, and welcome to video 2 of my lecture on standard costs. And where we left off on the previous video, we were talking about variances. And again, that term should be familiar because we already learned that term in part 1 of chapter 21 on flexible budgets, the difference between standard and actual. And again, the difference can either be favorable or unfavorable. Now, this process of comparing actual to budget for standard costs is really important but we need to really dig deeper and not just go, okay, were our costs higher or lower, but find out specifically why the costs were higher or lower, because the whole point of doing that is it's going to allow us to take action. Okay, so once we compare actual to budget and we find out if we're off, we need to do something about it. But if we don't understand or figure out exactly why we're off, we don't know what action to take. And as we've learned, there are so many different things that go into making a product, right? There's the direct material quantity, the direct material price, the direct labor quantity, the direct labor price, and especially if you're talking about multiple types of materials that go in, right? Multiple ingredients or multiple types of labor that go into making the thing. And don't even get me started on overhead, because there's so many things that can be off in overhead. We need to really hone in and pinpoint where we're off so that we can actually take the right action to fix it. So when we do that process of what caused the variance, I'm going to teach you in class, and of course it's in the book, but I don't expect you to know it for the quiz, but I want you to understand what kinds of things can cause variances, okay? And what we call each of those variances depending on what they are. So for example, if, say, you break more eggs than usual, that would be a direct materials quantity variance, right? Because we're using up more eggs than we would expect. So we refer to that as a quantity variance. Okay, it means the quantity of materials is off from what we expected. Another way we could be off is on the price of our materials. So let's say, for example, the price of eggs went either up or down. I don't know if you guys ever go grocery shopping, but the price of eggs actually changes all the time. And so we set our standard on like an average of what we think it's going to be, but if it's different than what we thought, the price could go up, the price could go down, just like, gas prices go up or down, and it would be off from expectation. What we refer to that as is a price variance. Okay? Now, we need to figure out if our variance is due to breaking too many eggs or if it's due to a change in egg prices, because we're going to deal with those two issues separately, right? If we are breaking a lot of eggs or have a lot of rotten eggs, that's a totally different issue than maybe our egg vendor is charging us more than usual. So we're going to take action on those two items very differently. So we need to know exactly what caused it. And not just go, oh, our materials are off. We need to know exactly why they're off. Okay. Also, with direct labor, we're going to look at that closely and figure out what is causing that variance. So let's say it takes our chef longer or shorter than expected for whatever reason. Maybe we hired a brand new person and they have to be trained and it's taking them longer than we thought. Well, that is what we refer to as an efficiency variance. Okay. But also we could have a variance due to the rate of our labor. So let's say, for example, we gave a raise to one of our chefs who was doing a really awesome job. Well, if they get a raise, well, then that would be what we call a labor rate variance. Okay? And again, it's important to to be able to identify if our variance in labor has to do with the amount of time it's taking to make the cakes or if it has to do with the rate, because we're going to deal with those two problems totally differently. And you guys will have an opportunity in class to discuss some possibilities for what could cause these variances, as well as discussing what action management should take. So, again, this process of comparing actual to budget is really important so that we can then take appropriate action. And so that really is how standard costs are helpful, right? They help with planning, that's really important, but they also help with control and helping us to identify where the problems are so that we can take action and fix them. And that's how standard costs can be a helpful tool within your business so that you can make appropriate decisions and take appropriate action when there's a problem. So, as a quick recap, hopefully through this lecture series, you learned what standard costs are. You learned how they relate to the budget process. You learned the different types of standards, and now you know the Q refers to quantity, the P refers to price, and how we set different standards for direct materials, direct labor, and overhead. You learned which is a better choice for a business to make as far as setting standards. Do they want to set an ideal standard versus a practical standard? We talked about different things that can cause standard cost variances and what each of those types of variances are called. And lastly, we talked about how standard costs can help your business. So I will see you guys in class. If you have any questions, of course, please let me know. Otherwise, I will see you in class.